Hey everybody, it's Trigger Bar Philosopher. Welcome back out to the channel. Today we have another exciting episode as we continue our review of the Smith & Wesson FPC, chambered in 10mm. Today we're going to put a suppressor on it, see how it performs. Let's get to shooting. Hey everybody, so what are we talking about today? We're talking about the folding pistol caliber carbine from Smith & Wesson. This one's chambered in 10mm. It's a relatively new release, and we're going to talk about shooting it suppressed. Now, one of the challenges in shooting this suppressed is that Smith & Wesson chose a pistol threading for the end of the barrel. That threading is 9/16 by 28. That's my 24. It'll be somewhere up there. That's not a great round if you want to consider this a rifle. It's a great one if you want to consider this a pistol, because that is what typically the thread adapter or the threading is on 40 caliber or 10mm barrels for pistols. So you could run this with a pistol adapter, meaning how do you change from the screw threads on your suppressor to the screw threads on your barrel. To do that, you typically have some type of either direct mount, which you can do, and they make direct mount capabilities. With my suppressor is called hub system. There are various direct thread adapters that you could directly thread that on. What I wanted to do was have a quick change adapter, and I like the Rearden Plan B quick change adapter. And to do that, I could not find a 9/16 by 24 thread adapter or brake that was set up with a Plan B Rearden adapter, which is how I convert my hub suppressors to the Rearden Plan B and then onto a muzzle brake typically, or a flash hider that has the threading of Plan B on it. I couldn't find one of those adapters. So what I had to do is I had to get an adapter thread adapter from Precision Armament. Their M4 muzzle thread adapter, and it adapts you from the 9/16 by 24 to 5/8 by 24. And there are then muzzle brakes and flash hiders that you can use that have the Plan B threads on them, so that you can then set this up like you would normally a rifle. So again, I found that at Precision Armament. Then one of the challenges with putting a suppressor on it is you have to, often with muzzle brakes, they have brakes that are directional, meaning they're going side to side, or on pistols you have them going up to push it down, but typically with rifles they go side to side to kind of keep pressure, to kind of keep the barrel where it is, exactly where and stay in the same spot under recoil. So you often have to use some type of shim system to get that in order to timed exactly. So when you thread it on, it's got to be timed so that when it reaches the end of the threading and you tighten it all the way up, it's horizontal and it's in the gas outlets for that muzzle brake. Well, I was able to find something from Angled Spade that is a 360-degree muzzle brake. It still has the threads on the outside that are for Rearden Plan B, and so I was able to use that Angled Spade on top of that other adapter that I talked about that changed our threading. Then once I had that, I could mount this with a Rearden Plan B suppressor mount. So that's kind of the work that went in behind this. It took a lot of guesses and things, and I really worried, because when you start to stack threading on top of an adapter, on top of the muzzle brake, and then connected to the suppressor, there's a lot of room for error that suppressor can start to tilt just ever so slightly. And that's dangerous, because then when you fire the round, if it's tilted slightly, by the time it gets to the end of the suppressor, it might be just enough deviation that you hit the end of your suppressor and hit what is called either your end cap or one of the baffles that is helping mitigate the sound. You don't want that. That's a bad day. Got to go back to the factory. It kind of ruins your suppressor, frankly. So I have an alignment rod, a 40 caliber alignment rod. I tested this in this Smith & Wesson FPC with that alignment rod. I don't know, clouds parted, miracles happened. I have no idea how it happened. I'm sure I will call it divine providence, but in this case, we did get alignment, even with all those tolerances stacking up. Maybe it's the Precision Armament and this Angled Spade that they have great tolerances on their threads. We're starting to get a little bit of rain here. Sorry about that, folks. But with all of that, I was able to get the suppressor aligned and mounted properly. Okay, so with that, We have some 40 Smith & Wesson because that's typically subsonic. Then we have some 10 millimeter that's more supersonic. And we're gonna test it out, see how it runs, see how we shoot, see how we like shooting this thing suppressed. Will it operate? Oftentimes when you put a suppressor on the end of a rifle, you have to do some tuning of the gas because it may be over gassed and cause malfunctions. Let's see what happens with this system. I believe it's more like a direct blowback system, and it's not gas operated. So but that direct blowback could be too heavy for the springs in it. So why don't we test it out and we'll shoot a little bit. Should be a good time. Let's get to shooting. Okay, well, first up, I have some 10 millimeter. It's some Federal 180 grain. Again, it's just on the edge, so it probably isn't hearing safe. But let's just see how we get with function with this. Okay, ran everything from this 20 round YouTube safe, 20 round magazine. Everything runs suppressed. I didn't have to adjust any gas settings. And that's kind of lightweight 10 millimeter. I haven't really tested out heavy 10 millimeter. I don't know that I'm going to be shooting heavy 10 millimeter out of this unless it's specific subsonic 220 lighter loaded rounds than what you would get typically with your 220 grain that you get from Buffalo Bull or Underwood. Those guys load it pretty hot, so it's not going to be subsonic. So with that, why don't we shift over to shooting some 40 Smith & Wesson. Hopefully you'll be able to hear the difference in it. Okay, and I am in a partially enclosed area. It's not totally enclosed. The target is enclosed. The place where I'm shooting is enclosed, so it just makes it just a little bit louder. Why don't we just take a quick look and see how we're doing downrange, and then we will get back to shooting a little bit more suppressed. Okay, we're not doing too bad. We're only at 7 yards, and we're just kind of blasting out here. That's what we're looking at. Okay, one more magazine loaded with the 10 millimeter. 180 grain Federal ammunition. Running all of that just fine. Shooting suppressed is pretty fun because it also helps mitigate whatever little recoil there is there and just kind of gives that psh, psh kind of setting. So that's kind of fun. Okay, we have some 40 Smith & Wesson loaded up. See how it does. Whew. That is fun. I am getting a little bit of gas back, but it's really not that bad. This is not a flow-through suppressor. So, yeah, that boy, you can tell it's smoking just a little bit here on the end. See if I can blow the smoke out. That's kind of fun. Not breathe it in. Yep. So, yeah, everything's running just great. Now we wrap things up. Okay, well, we had a pretty fun time shooting the Smith & Wesson FPC 10 millimeter suppressed. But in the end, I was able to come up with a set of adapters and brakes that were able to convert this from 9/16 to a 5/8 by 24 so that I could get my regular Plan B suppressor adapter onto the FPC. I think that's probably going to be important if anyone wants to shoot this thing suppressed. Of course, you can always put your pistol Nielsen device on the end of it and run it that way. Again, as long as the suppressor and the Nielsen device are rated for 40 caliber, and you can shoot it that way. I wanted to get this set up like a rifle so that I could switch my rifle suppressors between this and other rifles that I have. I think shooting suppressed is super fun. Yes, the NFA sucks. Yes, it does suck having to give some of your life over and your hard-earned tax dollars back to a taxation and in the form of a tax stamp in order to obtain the suppressors. But you know, at this point, everybody's really getting them now, and I think more people that get them will have the common use argument here shortly. So I think that's an exciting thing to think about. I think that there probably are good things on tap for us, and let's keep our fingers crossed and hope that progress is made in the political landscape for it. With that said, let me know what you guys think about the Smith & Wesson FPC, its capabilities, how it runs, how reliable it is, whether or not you're a fan of this style gun. Again, it's a knockoff of the Kel-Tec Sub 2000. Kel-Tec just announced their 10mm. I'm probably not going to get that because I have the Smith & Wesson 10mm. But let me know what you guys think about the new Kel-Tec one, if that's something that you're interested in getting into. Okay, well, I think that's it for today. Hope everyone has a great day. Hope everyone has a great week, and let's get to shooting.
Out here in the heartland,
okay, well, why don't we wrap things
where
up
our
today?
spirits run free. Trigger bar philosopher, it's you and me. From pistols to rifles, we'll take on the best. Reviewing each weapon, put them to the test.
I think I screwed up the audio. I just realized I hadn't had my microphone turned on, so we got a microphone for the close-up.
Shooting for the stars.